At number 99 on the iconic 100 list is the 1985 Topps Mark McGwire card. And here to talk with us today about this card is Cage from the Luca Tigers Bronze podcast. Cage, what do you think? You're here right towards the beginning of the list. Card number 99. Does it feel about right to you?
It does. It feels about right. It's an interesting card. I can understand, folks kind of knocking it a little bit because it's one of those, a buzzword nowadays, sort of like an XRC. It's an Olympic team card. He also had the wood border 1987 Topps card, later on. But I got to tell you, I was collecting an 85. I was a 9-year-old kid. Yeah, I'm that old. And this was the card, right? That was the card. 85 Topps was a great set. A lot of great rookies in there. You had Roger Clemens in there, Dwight Gooden in there, Kirby Puckett in there, just some, major names. But in 87, when, the Bash brothers came out, Oakland was doing their thing, and, McGwire was a rookie hitting 47 or 40, whatever home runs he hit. There were kids who had the wood border 87 Topps McGwire, and then there were the kids whose parents took care of them and had that Olympic team rookie card. And it's why I say it's iconic. It's an Olympic team. It's red, white, blue. It's got all the colors. It's got this, the 85 Topps set with just that something extra. And, it also had a resurgence when you had that, the crazy summer of McGwire and Sosa. So, another generation, was exposed to McGwire. And that card, that was the one that folks went after, was the one that folks were looking for. And it was like, wow, what is it? And just for me, adding to the iconic nature of it was Beckett magazine, which, you basically are now the Beckett. So anyway, Beckett magazine, when you looked that card up, it actually said like OLY XRC in the Beckett. Like it had its own, like, it was very easy to find, what the price was, because it was so long. Because it was so long, and it had that whole. So it was like a standalone kind of thing. I even remember some of the other guys in that set, O.W. McDowell and Corey Snyder, and like the Olympic team. So
do you remember? So you brought up the summer where Sosa goes crazy and McGwire goes crazy. Like I don't know if we can accurately sort of depict how incredible that time was in the hobby, because I worked at a card shop at the time, and I will tell you, like, every person who walked into the card shop, Cage, every one of them was like, do you have McGwire? Do you have Sosa? Even base cards. We couldn't get our hands on a single 1985 Topps card. It was impossible to find this card. And it was up arrows every month.
Every month.
It got to like $250, and we were like pulling out our hair because that didn't exist in base cards in the mid 80s and base.
No, not at all. And what was cool about it, you're 100% right. I remember, cars had, Sosa, they had the flags, and people would, just picking sides, right? Who you pulling for? Who's going to win it? But what's amazing about that is, it took baseball back from the brink. Baseball had the strike season. It really brought it back. You could go into a card store. You couldn't get a McGwire card, but you could get Andro. I'm just kidding. Hopefully the kids weren't taking Andro, but it was okay back then, guys. But what was amazing about it is back then, unlike today, baseball was America, right? It was America's pastime. People collected it. They weren't really collecting the other cards, collecting baseball cards. Sure, there were other cards, but baseball cards. It was called a baseball card store. It wasn't a sports card store. You went to the baseball card store, and baseball was American. What was going on there was the epitome of America. And to go back and find his rookie card, that it was, the red, white, and blue. It had an Olympic team, that American flair to it. It just made it all the more iconic.
One other thing I want to mention on it real quick before we go, pass on this one is, at this point we had Shop at Home, and Shop at Home was selling all sorts of different things, including the rare Mother's Cookie, Mark McGwire cards. It's also where I learned first about Topps Tiffany, and so one thing I like about this card, and it's true throughout this whole list. Sometimes you have cards that are super obtainable and they're iconic. This is one of them, right? This card, especially in the low grade, is just not expensive. You basically anyone can afford it, although that wasn't true during that year where McGwire hit 70. It's definitely true now. But on the other side of it, if you want to spend a lot of money in this hobby, you can go get a 1985 Topps Mark McGwire Tiffany in a really high grade. That's not a cheap card.
Thousands. I'm 5 figures in 10. 5 figures in the 10. I have a Puckett. but I never
Oh,
got a
yeah.
McGwire. Yeah,
Okay.
10 Tiffany bucket. But the McGwire is so much more of an iconic card, 100%. And I mean,
Exactly.
what was cool about it is the other 85 rookies, they kind of had other cards as well. I mean, sometimes, defining the word iconic is interesting, right? For cards, to me, we talked about the moment, we talked about the red, white, and blue, the Olympic team of it. But, the other rookies that I mentioned, your Puckett, your Clemens, your Gooden, they actually had cards in 84. Believe it or not, they had, 84 Topps traded. They had the 84 Fleer update, which is almost an iconic, set in and of itself, because that was a pretty rare set. A lot of kids didn't have that, but McGwire wasn't in that, so 85 Topps McGwire was the card,
Well, Cage, great take on card number 99, the 1985 Topps Mark McGwire Olympic rookie card. Tomorrow we're gonna do card number 98, and until then, happy collecting.